Hey everybody, we're back at the Galloping Ghost Arcade for another arcade video. That's Brandon. We always talk about how arcades and pop culture go hand in hand. We've talked about X-Men, we've talked about Dungeons & Dragons, and this week we're talking about one of the biggest inspiring action movies from the 1980s.
We get the best of both worlds. The fastest reflexes modern technology has to offer, onboard computer-assisted memory, and a lifetime of on-the-street law enforcement programming. It is my great pleasure to present to you ROBOCOP.
Yes, immediately after the success of ROBOCOP the film in 1987, Data East took to their computers and started work on ROBOCOP the arcade game, where you'd take to the streets of New Detroit as Alex James Murphy, better known as RoboCop, armed with your cool leg-sheathed pistol and fists of steel to knock the crime of the city down a peg. Now, Data East, probably best known for their work on Bad Dudes, was familiar with the side-scrolling beat-em-up process, but this game, ROBOCOP, actually mixes the two genres of side-scroller with a run-and-gun type game, kind of in similar stages to Contra, but actually it reminded me a lot of that Judge Dredd game that would come up years later, the one that was never finished, which we've covered in a previous video. Go check that out if you haven't. And this would be a great time to hit that like and subscribe button if you guys have not yet already. Ring the bell for notifications so you know every time we post an awesome video like this. Now, with the undeniable popularity of the RoboCop franchise, this was a very smart thing to do. Make this into an arcade game because you want your IP to show up anywhere these consumers are gonna go. Now, I really like the setup to this game. You get a cool briefing in your heads-up display, but the text scrolls really fast in between missions and kind of the rundown of what you're doing and in between levels. But it starts out, your regular side-scrolling beat-em-up, just using your steel hands to beat in the faces of your enemies, knocking these suckers out, maybe 3 at a time with one punch, which is kind of cool. And his walk is very stiff and robotic, like you see in the films. I think they captured the character perfectly in this game. And the city background in this first level. You get to a point where the enemies, the thugs, have guns, and RoboCop actually pops out his pistol from his leg. You get that cool compartment action going on there. Later on, we even see him spinning the gun when he wins a level. And I really like the gameplay in the arcade game. You're stepping back and forth, very robotic still. You could pick up different power-ups that give your gun different shots, whether there's the spread shot or anything else like that. Of course, we have a variety of types of enemies, whether some throwing grenades that you could shoot in midair, or the random motorcyclist that just flies through your face, and those guys are very hard to deal with. The thing that I do like about this game as well is the amount of the enemies that do use guns. They're all shooting you at once, and it kind of gets in this meticulous, almost bullet hell type state where you're walking back and forth, jumping in the air, dodging these bullets while you're firing back. And the boss battles are very cool. They're not too difficult in my opinion, especially the first stage when you're fighting this Ed 209-esque character, the big turret that walks back and forth. Really satisfying when you take him down and you see RoboCop spin that gun. And the thing about this, it doesn't seem too hard. It feels like you could get through this game. You might have to pump some quarters in. You're definitely going to have to, because when you do get hit, your health bar does drain, especially depending on what you get hit by, whether it be a grenade, now a crazy guy with a chainsaw, the motorcycle flying at you, or later on, when you get to the junkyard stages, you get hit by these big magnets. They just totally deplete your health. Another way I think the game keeps you wanting to come back for more is, you put your score in when you die, and even when you continue it keeps asking you for another score. Which this playthrough was actually the first time I realized that you could continue on this game. I just figured, because every time it had me put a score in, that I couldn't continue. I think that's me being dumb. But this was the farthest I ever played through, and now I really want to go back and play through some more, because the great thing about having it here at the Galloping Ghost Arcade, you don't need to put coins in. We have the special coin buttons built in to the cabinet. It's like our free play button. You just push that, it acts like you're putting a credit in, and you can just play and play until you beat this thing. And that might be what I gotta do. But look at this, all this chaos on the screen. As you can see, your health bar does go down really fast, you know, feeding those coins in. You need that meticulous left and right, those jumping, dodging those bullets. And at times, like I said, it's like a bullet hell game. But an interesting aspect of this is playing through, once you get past that initial first stage, it seemingly throws that beat 'em up aspect out the window, and you just have your gun now. Your regular pistol has infinite ammo to it, but you could pick up, like I said, the other shots have a specific number of ammo. And again, another reason why this really felt like that Judge Dredd game makes me think that they kind of modeled their Judge Dredd arcade cabinet off of the ROBOCOP, is this shooting gallery practice stage for bonus points, which is really fun. I like the targeting system, how it is kind of looking through the point of view of ROBOCOP with that X and Y axis. Again, going to a junkyard, which is very reminiscent of the film. Now this switches up the pace of things, because you have the environment that can hurt you. It looks like falling rusted out bumpers or mufflers. You have these car compactors, the big magnets, and those environmental hazards really deplete your health very quickly. So it ups the difficulty as you go through these stages. But look at this, that anti-material rifle just blows people away. You start off with, I think, 15 shots, and this is a projectile that moves through targets. So anytime it's on the screen, it's going to keep going and destroy any enemy that is in its wake. So this was really cool to see. Another nod to, of course, the films. And then introducing different types of terrain, elevators, stairways in this game as well. So it's not just a forward and backward thing. All in all, a super fun game with a lot of nostalgia to it. And one of the beat 'em ups where I didn't feel like I was just getting destroyed. I think being at the Galloping Ghost, where you can keep, you know, pushing the start button and continuing, is a great aspect to that. But it's not frustrating. You feel like you're doing something when you're in the game. You're seeing a lot of explosions. You're taking out a lot of bad guys. You don't feel like the enemies are overpowered. A lot of fun. My only gripe really is the text between levels. There's no time to read it, especially for someone as inept like myself. Of course, this week we are going to be looking at a ROBOCOP comic, and what better than one by two of the greatest comic creators of all time, Frank Miller and Walt Simonson, ROBOCOP versus Terminator. Now this came out in 1992. Now that is after ROBOCOP 2, the film, came out in 1990, which Frank Miller had a part in writing, but not after 1993 when ROBOCOP 3 came out. So people still love the franchise.
Hold it. Hold it. Hold it.
Wait a second, what's that? I'm on to you, X-Men. ROBOCOP and the Terminator colliding. The worlds are actually warped together by the genius of Frank Miller's writing, having Cyberdyne Systems, Skynet, basically being started with ROBOCOP, with the first technology that basically starts the motion of Skynet to happen. is because of ROBOCOP and his technology. Pretty genius stuff. And in here, of course, this is the 90s, so either you need a big buff badass character or a babe that can kick ass. And they went with the babe part of the human rebel that is teleported back in time to stop Skynet from bringing upon Judgment Day, basically. She is sent to assassinate Murphy, but she doesn't, and he turns into RoboCop. We see amazing action from Walt Simonson, great weaving of a story from Frank Miller, and in fact, even the letters in this book are great. I was looking back on this, and I noticed how great the letter work was, and it really reminded me of Walt Simonson's Thor. So I double checked, and yeah, it's the same letterer from Walt Simonson's Thor run. And that's John Workman, which his letters are something that I really studied when I was working on a book called Doom Fate. He does those big booms, those big thuds, the dooms, amazing stuff, and it pairs very well with Simonson's work. There's some awesome moments, some crazy splash pages, and this book even has a kid Terminator. Yes, the crazy robot sent a Terminator disguised as a child back in time to try to kill RoboCop. That's it for this week, guys. Go pick up RoboCop vs. Terminator. Go down to the Galloping Ghost Arcade and play the RoboCop arcade game. And if you love comic books like we do, hop on over to Indiegogo and grab some comics that we are creating for all of you guys. We have the Lost Pages 2 on there if you love superhero action, or head on over to zadecomics.com and check out our 1980s monster mashup called Magic Cop. Until next time,
stay out of trouble.